Coming up on this episode of Echoes of Coventry.
It was like a scene like you can't believe. And it's unfortunately, that lasted shorter than the original Coventry. That was like 2 months. And then we were closed.
60 days.
Yeah, but it was a fun 60 days, man. So that was interesting. I had a great time. And I was more involved because I was the bartender.
He was a bartender. I'd look over every once in a while, see if he was still alive.
Welcome to 1970s New York City, where Coventry, the legendary live music venue, originally the Popcorn Pub, became a stepping stone for younger generation bands like the New York Dolls and Kiss, pioneering the transition from rock and roll to glitter, punk, and beyond. I'm your host, Jef Canter, and this is Echoes of Coventry.
New York City, call my name.
On today's episode, we're fortunate to have Michael Newman with us, a pivotal figure from the Coventry era.
Michael joins us alongside Charlie Supp. Michael isn't just a friend of Charlie. He was a bartender at the Coventry when it reopened in the 1980s.
He's witnessed its most iconic performances and lived the life that many only heard about in songs. Michael, thank you for joining us today.
So after the original Coventry closed in 1975,
you brought it back. What was it, during the 80s?
We brought it back twice. We brought it back in 1980, which didn't work out very well.
Do you remember seeing Sam and Dave there?
It was incredible. Sam was a teetotaler, so he sat backstage before he went on to play. Dave was not. I was pouring him Remy Martin's, or what I thought might be Remy Martin.
What are you trying to say?
I don't know. I'm just saying. And he was good. He was a good customer. And they were great. I love Sam and Dave. I think that was one of the best acts we had in that.
They're great.
That week.
They're the act where, like, who was it? Sam was the lead singer? I don't know.
Yeah, he was the lead singer.
Yeah, he'd faint at the end of the set.
Yeah.
You know, and then like Dave would come put the cape on him. Mm-hmm. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. And try to take him off the stage. He goes, no, I'm not leaving the stage. And he would stumble back on the stage and do another song. They had a whole shtick going. It was really, it was very funny stuff.
Very good stuff.
Yeah.
That was a good. I think we did it. I don't know how many, couple of months, but that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And who I think George tried to book. Who was a guitar player for?
Steve Stevens, who played with Billy Idol, was from Sunnyside, Queens.
Okay.
So he grew up. He also used to go to the Coventry. So we tried to book him. And then we also tried to book Ian. I was talking to you yesterday.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Ian Hunter and Mick Ronson, this was in 1980, were doing the club tour. If you don't remember, anybody remembers, there's a big album, Welcome to the Club, that was, they did a whole club tour. So Ian Hunter wanted to play at the Coventry. And so they came. And George was running the place at the time. So they wanted to see if we had enough juice, enough electricity for their equipment. Mm-hmm. So George showed them a box upstairs, and they looked and they walked away, and we never saw them again. I told Paul what happened. Paul goes, "We had to go down the basement." We could have been the club where they recorded that album. And also, we almost had Twisted Sister play there. And this is when, again, 1980, before Twisted Sister was like original, band. They were a cover band.
Didn't they have didn't my father want to book them originally? Because they're Long Island, right?
Yeah, they're Long Island.
Yeah, so I think he wanted to book them originally, and I think they hit him with a number, and he went like, oh, no.
And they were probably the last glam rock or glitter band around. This is talking in the 80s,
Yeah.
But we missed them, too. And he played. You played all three versions of the Coventry. Well, definitely.
I don't know. Did I? Apparently.
Yeah, because in the 80s.
Apparently I did.
Our sound system was the sound system. So basically, you told George that there's going to be a pitch night, whether you like it or not, with our sound system. And you played Blue Suede. Do
you remember who we played with?
What's that name of that band? They were from the local. We didn't get along with them.
Oh yeah, I know exactly. Come to Papa.
Yeah, Come to Papa.
Yeah,
Oh, they
yeah,
didn't like
yeah.
us.
No, they hated us. Bands back then, it wasn't a kumbaya thing. It was like everybody hated everybody. So
when I did my band years, we weren't.
You went through the same
either.
thing.
Yeah.
It was like it was a battle of the bands wherever you went. Like that was
But if you have your own sound system, you can make some calls that no one else can.
Mm-hmm.
Being the sound pimp.
And then we could talk also about '84 because when we brought it back in '84, it was good.
That was in Queens Plaza in '84.
Queens Plaza with the hardcore punk. That was great. '84 was interesting because we did something that almost as important as putting out, presenting glitter rock or glam rock was, and again, this fell in our laps. We had no idea. Hardcore punk. And what we did was, the only place that was doing hardcore punk at that time was CBGB's, but they wouldn't even let them on nighttime. Sunday mornings, no alcohol, because most of the people were 14 years old.
Psychotic.
Yeah, and crazy. And so this one band, they were called Token Entry, came over while we were, first doing the New Coventry, and this was in Queens Plaza, not on Bliss Street. And our big act was the Juke Band from Southside Johnny. They didn't bring anybody in. So we were looking for something that would, bring some people in. And these kids came over. We want to play. So, all right, fine, we'll let you play. No problem. And you remember, you and I, the night they were supposed to play, I pick up Charlie and we drive over to Queens Plaza, and there's a line around the block.
I think we had to first go to the beer distributor.
No, we went straight to the beer distributor. We had no beer. We didn't expect anybody to be there. And there's this freaking line around the block. So we run over to the beer distributor and then grabbed Heinekens and Budweisers and sodas and got back there. And it was an incredible night. And then realized we found something. Thank God we didn't care about serving 15-year-olds beers.
Or the premises.
And we had a 3-act night. The place was packed. Unbelievable. All these skinheads and all loon balls. And people, the New Coventry was like this large stairwell up to where the bands were playing, and from the door. And these people were throwing people down the stairway. Yeah, well, easy way to get out, I suppose. And the energy. I'd never been part of a show that had so much energy. Then Token Entry, Murphy's Law, Reagan Youth. I can never get out of my head. The energy of that night was amazing, and it was a horseshoe bar, and this long-haired deadhead is serving these guys, and they loved me. I'm running from one end of the bar back around the other end of the bar, and it was an incredible evening.
Did they have mosh pit for their bands, or they were just
all
crushing together?
Everybody's jumping on each other. Yeah. It was just, and then there was like a couple of heavy metal guys there. I think they were here to see Reagan Youth. I'm not sure. Getting into fights with the hardcore punk.
Part of the scene.
It was like a scene like you can't believe. And it's unfortunately that lasted shorter than the original Coventry. That was like 2 months, and then we were closed.
60 days.
Yeah, but it was a fun 60 days, man. So that was interesting. I had a great time, and I was more involved because I was the bartender.
He was a bartender. I'd look over every once in a while, see if he was still alive.
Unfortunately, the people were crazy. And Paul closed us down once he saw what was.
It's rock and roll.
Come on, man! I didn't. He wasn't going for that. Because what they did to the bathrooms, I can't even explain.
It's like a really bad Woodstock day.
It was just. I mean, it was, and it got a little violent too, but.
Yeah, there were actually teeth marks in the bathroom stalls.
Yeah,
people
it was
actually
weird.
Chewing on a Formica.
But it was a fascinating place.
So getting back to the bands at the original Coventry,
Did glitter come because these people were wanting to express themselves that way? Or did somebody do it first and then everybody started copying?
I think it was to get a reaction. I think they saw, like the Stones starting using makeup, and it was a way to get a reaction, contrast. And
do you think some of it sprung up from like the Warhol scene downtown?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's
like that kind of colorful stuff.
Very good. Absolutely.
Because I think so.
Absolutely.
I think the high heels, the fishnets, and being 250 pounds, so weird. But
it's sort of
evocative kind of look.
But exactly. Provocative.
So,
Get a reaction.
Yeah.
And it was a way to, and they got a reaction. Alice Cooper. Everybody started to go that, and I think I give Coventry a lot of credit for that.
Well, and it's kind of interesting because it was almost like glitter morphed into punk.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you think part of like the CBGB versus Coventry has to do with Manhattan versus Queens?
I think that some of it, I think it's more the fact that punk had a longer shelf life.
Right.
And bands, wasn't just Kiss and the Dolls. You had Television, you had Blondie, you had Talking Heads. You could keep going. A bigger movement that lasted longer and had a much bigger influence.
Add to that, I mean, as nostalgic and as wonderful we talk about these things, at the end of the day, when somebody opens up a place, it's a business. And you got to pay the rent, you got to do this, you got to do that. And whatever challenges you come across. Perhaps CBGB's was making money. I mean, if CBGB's wasn't making money, then there would be no CBGB's,
But, but CBGB's, if at least from what I read or saw, it fell in their lap too. They weren't making any money. He was supposed to be a country bar. And then television,
initially, right? Yeah.
And television fell in his lap. And the next thing you know, they're bringing people in, and then he starts all these other punk acts. And, he got lucky. And it's, I think Paul got lucky, but it didn't sustain. And that's unfortunate.
I remember when I was researching that there was a third club where it was like these bands would kind of circulate. I think it was in Manhattan too.
Oh, there was a lot of places. Max's Kansas City.
That might have been
the what was
Mud
it?
Club.
Mud Club. What was the ballroom down there? Like
Hammerstein Ballroom.
It was unique in Queens. It wasn't that unique in the city. But then the venues weren't the same. I mean, this place could hold 500 people. You're talking about bars that are, you can't see the place. We're talking on a podcast, but we're in a uptown Manhattan bar called Ethyl's. The capacity here is about 75 to 100. Right. So that's what you'd play in. Every once in a while you might find a bigger venue, but Queens gave you the ability to bring in lots and lots of people.
Right.
With a sound system that was, I would call, superior to what they were finding elsewhere. And, some bands took advantage of it, some bands didn't.
Unfortunately, it didn't sustain. That if we had, been able to go strong into the mid-'70s and really grab hold into the punk movement, would have been very interesting. But Paul closed it in 75, and that was right at the beginning of the Ramones. And the Ramones did play the Coventry, but I think they
definitely hung out there.
They hung out there.
Yeah.
But it did, it left it open for CBGBs. Coventry was bigger. You can get more people. It could have been very interesting. It didn't happen.
I think it was also hard at that time to understand what trends were happening. There's no social media. There's no, so like we can, in retrospect, look down from like 10,000 feet and go, it was starting to spread. This was happening here. It was moving there. But you couldn't be that much of a visionary to know that if I did this and this would happen. It was so it was tough. And he did what he needed to do.
It's really an amazing story. And I for one, love that it's now getting more recognition. Getting the Queen's Mark Award was amazing because they say it's not like we give them out every other day. In his 6 years there, that Jason said that they've only given out, this is only the third one.
Yeah, it wasn't that, it was a couple, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's significant. It's really nice for the Coventry to be acknowledged that way and for a plaque to be presented to my father as a shaper of rock and roll history.
Yeah.
And, Queens also was a very important spot for these things. Most of these bands, they didn't come from Manhattan to play in Queens. They went from Queens to play in Manhattan.
Right.
They were Queens residents. It's amazing how much talent there was in Queens, right?
Absolutely.
It was incredible. So
Ramones are from Queens.
yeah.
The
Kiss.
Well, Johansson's from Staten Island. I don't know where the rest of them.
I don't know where Johnny Thunder came from, but like it's a misconception. Like they all came from like downtown. They're all hanging out in like Soho and this place. A lot of these kids were just coming down the block, literally. You know, bicycling over, taking a cab, walking, to the place. That's why it's super important. And Queens has a cool factor that people don't talk about.
Did your dad like the music?
Oh, he loved the music.
I wondered that.
No, he loved it.
No,
That's great.
it's like I told you before. He's the one who grabbed me. Come in here. You got to hear this man. When we heard Cannon, I wasn't heading into the cover.
He still talks about the bands that he loves. He's still
Does
talking.
he talk about Cannon?
Yeah, he's still talking about.
They were amazing.
Yeah, so
and Paul goes, "Why you got to hear this?" So it wasn't me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He's pretty honest about his emotions and his feelings too. I mean,
Yeah.
you could ask him about the Aerosmith thing where they asked him if they could play, but they wanted some money coming from Boston. So just the fact that, and they were, I think, pretty decent following in Boston at the time. I'm guessing.
They made
so
it
for them to know that the Coventry was a place they should come to play, that alone is cool. I don't think he wanted to pay him $200 or $300. I mean, that's always a fortune in the 70s. But aside from that, that's the reputation of the place was good.
It's sad that it didn't. Yes, move on and kept going. Would have been great.
After Coventry, it became a.
It was the Aratama. My father, I guess, found a partner to do salsa music, but he loved that too. I mean, music for him was music.
Yeah.
The bands that played, not necessarily the Coventry location, but the location that me and Mike took over in Queens Plaza. Freddie Pacheco, Celia Cruz, Ruben Blades. I mean, the biggest of the top Latin salsa bands. He paid them $25,000-$30,000 a night to play in his places.
Wow.
Yeah, they were top notch, and he loved it. And it's great music. So, he wasn't like, it just has to be this, or it just has to be. I wasn't necessarily a purist. It's like whatever caught his ear, and that's what I love about him. So he has a wide-ranging tastes and things.
In what way do you think that your place here, Ethyl's, pays homage to Coventry?
Ethyls is a little bit of a different vibe. Ethyls is like, I call it like a 70s throwback bar, but also like disco, Motown, soul, stuff like that. A little bit more of a danceable edge to it. It's sort of like, I guess kind of like what happened after the Coventry, all right? The Bee Gees and this, that, and the other stuff. But not solely that, like more like Detroit and like, Memphis, Mississippi stuff. And we have blues here, we have everything. We have live bands, twice a week. We now have jazz on Sunday. The thing about it is like, I was brought up in a place scraping gum in the Coventry with my buddies. And like I'm a musician, we all love music. And I just wanted to keep that going. So
the vibe here is really, really cool in terms of live music acts. My son plays here. My son played with Charlie for a while as a guitarist. And this is one of the better bars to go to see music. And, I've been to all these other places. It's got a great vibe to it. It doesn't feel like it's a dump.
We have the go-go thing on the weekends when we're packed. We have like that vibe. And during the week, we have an opportunity for live bands to play. So it has a sustainability that my father didn't have, and a lot of the other venues don't have, so we can do both.
So with all this history between you guys, are there any stories that we haven't mined yet? Anything that you think either needs to be buried or needs to be...
There's a lot of other stuff, but it's not so much music related, so maybe we save that.
Okay.
Like, stay tuned.
52 years, man. So we've been friends 52 years.
Yeah.
Lot has happened over those years.
Got a couple of stories.
Yeah,
A couple of stories. Yeah.
It's been a very, very good and very fruitful relationship.
Rock and roll on, right?
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Echoes of Coventry. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Bliss Street NYC on Facebook and Instagram, and at The Sound Dogs on Facebook and Instagram to keep up with the latest episodes and behind-the-scenes content. Stay tuned for more tales from New York's homegrown rock and roll scene, and I'll catch you around the neighborhood.